What up, B Squad? It is me, JB, and we are here today, you guys, with the season finale of Reasonable Doubt, you guys, season 3, episode number 10. And the episode was titled On to the Next One. Now, before we get into it, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel, and you guys are not yet subscribed to the channel, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, you guys, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video. And with that out of the way, without further ado, you guys, let us go ahead and discuss the season finale of Reasonable Doubt, shall we? Okay, you guys, so this episode, we pick up where we ended. You guys remember the last episode, we ended with Daniel finding Kristen, right? So remember, Daniel asked Kristen, like, hey, was it you who hurt Wendy? So when they were getting ready to talk, he told her the jury is back. So we get back to the courtroom and we found out that the jury found Ozzy not guilty. And I was like, okay, cool, right? So also, I will say that this episode, it did a lot of time jumps, right? So we went back 6 months. So Kristen is having a conversation with Daniel, and I'll tell you guys about that conversation a little later. So then we see Lewis. So Lewis is having a conversation with his assistant about Sam, right? So the assistant, she's all happy and giddy, thinking that Sam is about to get fired. And Lewis was like, yeah, we're not firing him because he's having a baby. And she was like, he got a girlfriend? She was like, because he continuously brags about his Tinder profile. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, I said, Lewis, I knew I called it last week that Lewis was getting played by that man. That man has played Lewis this entire time. And this is Lewis's fault. Now, we move back over to Jax's office, right? So Kristen went up to Ozzy and, she told him that she's really sorry for everything. She said she was sorry that she wasn't there, when the verdict was read and all that stuff, right? So Jax is just peeping this and looking. So we see as Jax went over where Ozzy was, and she's like, hey, Ozzy, how about, you come over to my house for Sunday dinner, right? And he's like, oh, thank you, but I already have plans with my friends. They're gonna be they're gonna be celebrating, right? And Jax was looking like hopefully they're having a party for you with apple cider vinegar, apple cider, not vinegar, but apple cider, and no party favors, right? So then Daniel came in to have a conversation with Jax. He's saying that he needs to talk to her, that he has something that he wants to discuss with her. So again, like I said, we'll get into that whole situation a little later in the review. Now, we see as Bill the scammer was having a conversation with Vince and Steven saying that, when it comes down to Jax, Jax is a name partner here. Jax is someone who, you know, she's a name partner here. She's the person who brings in the most money to this firm. So going forward with this merger, I want you guys to put some respect on Jax's name, right? And so then Vince and Steven kind of flipped that on him. They were like, well, you didn't really do much in the case with Jax. So we don't really understand why would you be partner again at this point if you didn't do anything. And I was like, Bill, you should have known that was going to happen. They were they were playing you the entire time. They were playing you against Jax, and you gave into what they wanted, right? So then we see Daniel. So Daniel is talking to Jax about what Kristen told him about what happened to Wendy, right? Now, remember, Wendy had this bump on her head. And remember, back in court, that is what Jax was trying to say was the ultimate cause of Wendy's DEATH, right? But that's not entirely what happened. So Kristen is saying that what happened is that Wendy came over to the parents' house. Wendy was threatening to release information about the family, and she bumped her head on the table, and so she took her to her parents' cabin. So she told Daniel, like, because they were like, "What do we do?" And she was like, "Let's just give Ozzy the weekend, and then we can, come up with a solution to how to best tell him that the people in his life, they're all fucked up in a sense, right?" So Jax texts Chelsea saying, "Hey, you and I should meet up, right?" And Daniel was like, "I'm gonna go text my sister and tell her thank you for being a good sister to me, unlike what Ozzy has when it comes to Kristen, right?" So, y'all, I ain't mentioned this at all this season because I kind of let it go. But even with my thumbnails, well, not my thumbnail, but like my on the screen, what you guys see, the uh the promotional photo. In the promotional photo, you see Jax, Bill, and Corey, aka Morris Chestnut, right? Now we ain't saw Morris Chestnut since that first or second episode, but he's in all the promotional stuff. And then we finally see him in the finale. I said, I know you lying to me. You got to be lying to me that he's back in this episode, right? So Morris is back with his girlfriend Essence Atkins' character. I forgot what the doctor from last season, right? So they're having a double date with Lewis and with Jax. So when Corey got there, Lewis had this stank ass attitude with him. I was like, Lewis, why do you have a stank attitude towards this man? And he's here with his girlfriend. Like, what are you upset about? Yes, there was something that was brewing between Jax and Corey last season, but nothing happened. They didn't cross a line with each other. So, what are you in your feelings about? So, Jax took off the doctor's jacket. And so when she took her jacket off, she showed her ring finger and she has an engagement ring on. So Corey and the doctor are engaged. And I was like, you should feel so stupid. You should feel, and Lewis looked stupid in that particular moment, right? So then we see as Jax and Corey are having a conversation, right? And they're talking about the trial, and yeah, and Jax was like, yeah, it's been a lot that I've dealt with between Bill the scammer, Ozzy, Steven, and Vince, and all this kind of stuff. So Corey's like, well, I got something I need to tell you. So Corey told Jax that they offered him a position and they were willing to buy her out. And so Jax's whole thing is like, that makes no financial sense whatsoever to bring you in and buy me out. And I was like, Jax, if you don't read the writings on the wall and figure out what they were up to. So then after that, we see as Jax, she met up with Chelsea, right? And they actually were getting along with each other. So Chelsea is telling Jax that, Eddie came into her life basically trying to work her and play her and get money from her. So Jax asked her, like, so why are you telling me it right now? And Chelsea's whole thing is the reason that I'm telling you is because I want a relationship with you as my sister. And the thing is, when it comes to Chelsea, do I necessarily believe Chelsea? Not really. I don't believe Chelsea and I don't trust Eddie either at the same time. But you guys can tell me what you think and what you feel. So moving on. So after that, we see as Jax met up at a funeral home with Eddie. And essentially, Jax is just telling Eddie, like, she always, when she would reach out to him and he wouldn't respond to her, her mind went to the worst set case scenario, thinking that she would get a call that unfortunately he was no longer here with her because his drug addiction got the best of him, right? And so she also told him that she met up with Chelsea and that Chelsea told her that he was using her and he was like, don't believe your sister, she's a liar. And I'm like, but so are you. So Jax is like, you know what? At this particular time, I just want some space from you, and I want some space from Chelsea because I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want a relationship with my dad or if I want a relationship with my sister because it seems like at this point, you both are lying to me. And I was like, you know what, Jax? I absolutely understand that. Now we move over to Ozzy's place, right? So Ozzy is with his friends. They're celebrating, and having a big ass party, right? So one of his friends came over to him, put some of that white girl on his hand and sniffed it. And he was like, "You want some?" And Ozzy was like, "Nah, I'm good," right? So then the guy put a little pack in Ozzy's hand. I was like, "Ozzy, please don't do what I think you're gonna do. Like, please do not take this." So Ozzy ended up leaving and going over to Jax's place for dinner. So, he had dinner with the kids and he was basically telling the kids how he wishes his parents were like Jax and Lewis. And so we see as Mama Lou is there, Mama Lou is doing good. So Mama Lou leaves with the kids. So it's just Jax, Ozzy, and Lewis there. But Lewis eventually left. So Jax told Ozzy, like, "I've called some people. I think you need to stick with therapy. And I also think that you need to go to rehab." Ozzy's like, "I'm clean." She's like, "Ozzy, you're not clean." She's like, "With this trial been over, things are going to come at you. And I just want you to be prepared," right? So she told him, "I'm doing this because I love you." And I almost broke down crying, you guys, because that hurt me. And then he was like, "I'm not strong enough. I'm not ready to go." She said, "Okay, well, do me this favor." She said, "Go into Spencer's room, get yourself together. They'll be here in a few minutes. And when they come, I'll come get you," right? So the guys, they get there. And so Jax went to Ozzy's room. Well, not Ozzy's, but Spencer's room. She knocked on the door and no answer. So she knocked again. Then she went in there and there was Ozzy, who OD'd at that point, right? So we see as the guys come in, they try to resuscitate him. They tell Jax to call 911. We see as 911 got there. And then when they got there, we see as they wheeled him out on the stretcher. So I was like, okay, like all is good. Until we get to Ozzy's funeral. And I was like, oh, fuck, not Ozzy died. I kind of figured that would happen, but I didn't want it to happen. So we see everybody at the funeral. Monica was at the funeral, but Monica was in a crowd of people. I was like, "You a trifling ass bitch." Y'all, I can't stand Monica. So at the repast, we see as Bill the Scammer went up to Jax to let her know that he's Team Jax. And I'm like, "Bill the Scammer, read the room. This is not the time." And even Jax had to tell him that. And even Spencer had to come up and kind of break it up, the conversation. And she was like, "Thank you." And she was like, "I want you to know, Spencer, that you can come and talk to me about anything. Like, don't feel like there's anything that you can never have a conversation with me about." And I was like, "Okay, Jax, I'm here for it," right? So after that, Rosie came over. And so Rosie came over and she was talking to Jax and she asked Jax, she was like, actually, before that, Jax was beating herself up because she feels like she felt Ozzy the same way she felt Damon. And, Lewis was there to tell her she didn't feel anybody, right? That the situation with Ozzy and with Damon are completely different, right? So after that, Rosie came up to talk to Jax. And Rosie asked her, why was Ozzy at her home? So Jack said that, well, I invited him over. And Rosie said, I did too. And so she feels like Jax won. And Jack's like, what do you mean I won? She was like, in his final moments, he was with you instead of me. And Jack's like, neither one of us won because he picked drugs over both of us, right? So then this producer came up to Rosie to have a conversation with her. And so Rosie walked off with the producer. Now, Jax, she then went up to have a conversation with Kristen, and she asked Kristen, like, why didn't she come forward sooner? And she said they were both innocent. And so Jax, like, so what really happened? So after that, we see Kristen. So Kristen went to her dad saying they should come clean. And he said that, he's going off on Kristen, telling Kristen that she failed Ozzy because she fucked up in protecting him. And he said he got problems from all them bitches and he's shut up Wendy. So he then goes into what happened. And like I said, I'm gonna talk about it in a few minutes. But what Jackson Kristen did was they set him up. They got him on a recording, right? So to end the episode, and then like I said, I'll go back to what happened with Wendy and wrap that up. So we see, as you know, everybody is celebrating Jax's, the win and Bill becoming partner. So this is the point where Jax found out about the acquisition, and she told them, they told her, and you're going to be staying with us, right? So Bill the scammer, he went up to Jax and he said, I defended you, and she said, you know what, you can have that, and they can have it as well. And so Jax went back to her office, and Jax packed her shit up and left. And I was like, yes, Jax. I was so happy for that. I was here for every minute of it, right? Then we see Lewis. Lewis finally grew a pair of balls and he fired Sam. I said, that's what you have been needed to do, was fire the man. So that happened. And so Jax left to start her own firm, right? So she went to her first day at her firm. And what happens? Crazy ass Monica comes in with a gun and she shot at someone. Now, if we're being honest, who do I think Monica shot at or shot? I don't think it's Jax. It's either Daniel or Lewis that got shot. One of the two. But you guys will let me know what you think in the comments about that. Now, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode with who unalived Wendy. So this is from the first half is going to be from Kristen's interpretation, right? Now, remember the night so this goes back 6 months earlier. Now we start up and we see the conversation that Rosie and Ozzy had when Rosie was telling Ozzy that she that is Wendy was sleeping with another man. So after that, we then see as Ozzy, as he went and confronted Wendy, right? Asked her to show him what she did to the man and all this kind of stuff. And Wendy was like, "Are you high?" And so then we see as she walked outside, got in her car, and that's when we saw the argument where he was like, don't treat me like I'm any nigga off the street. I'm Ozzy Edwards. So then she got in the car. He told her when to get out the car, but Wendy drove off. So then we later see as Monica came over to the house, and Ozzy is like, "What the hell are you doing here? I thought you were Wendy." And he said, "Get Wendy to sign the NDA." So Monica put her hands on his chest and he pushed her hand down and she scratched his chest. So that is where those scratches came from that we saw on Ozzy's chest, not from Wendy. So then we later see as him and Alex were together and he got high with Alex, right? So he got an alert on his phone that Wendy was at the family's cabin. And so he told Alex, so Alex was telling the truth that he did mention going to the cabin. And Ozzy lied on the stand. Ozzy said that he didn't know how to get to the cabin, but he airdropped the address to Alex. He and Alex got in the car. They went up there. And when they got up there, Ozzy was high as hell. So he went inside the cabin. Kristen is there. Wendy is in there tied to a chair. So that's what we've been seeing all season, where he remembers seeing Wendy tied up in the chair, right? And then there was a gun on the table. So Ozzy was so high, he was asking like, what happened? So he was trying to wake Wendy. He was like, wake up, baby, wake up. And so he passed out on the couch. So in the midst of him trying to get Wendy to wake up, he loosened some of the knots that were on where Wendy's hand was tied up. So Wendy freed herself. So this is Kristen's interpretation, right? So Wendy got up, ran out, and Kristen ran behind, got the gun, ran behind her and popped her. And so she fell, and Alex saw, and he was like, "What the fuck, what the fuck, Kristen?" So Kristen says that after that, she ditched her phone and all that stuff on the freeway, and she paid Alex. And so she then took Ozzy back home, put Ozzy back in the bed, and he was none the wiser, right? And so that's Chris's interpretation. Now, remember, I was telling you guys a few minutes ago that Kristen set up her dad, right? So this is actually what happened. So Wendy went over to the house. She ran into Ozzy's father and she was telling him like, I'm gonna tell Ozzy everything about you guys, show Ozzy who really cares about him and who doesn't, and then Ozzy will be out of your lives forever, right? So Wendy and the dad got into it, and she spit in his face. That man slapped her so fucking hard, she fell and hit the table. So Kristen saw that, and she was like, "Dad, what the hell is going on? Like, is she gone?" So he said, "No, she still had a pulse." So he told Kristen to grab her feet, and so they dragged her to the car and then drug her up to that cabin, right? So then we see as Ozzy actually got to the cabin, so he did untie Wendy, right? And remember, I can't remember which episode it was, but remember the episode where Monica said that she was cleaning something up and she was burning that hoodie? Well, Ozzy touched Wendy's head where she was bleeding, and he had it on his hand. He put it on his jacket and he wiped it down his chest. And so that's that. So then we saw as Wendy once again got herself free and took off running. So this time, what actually happened is the dad ran behind her and shot a few shots. He told Alex, like, you ain't see shit. Like, I know you having money issues. If you keep quiet, your money issues won't be a problem, basically, right? So then we see as Wendy was actually still alive. He didn't take her out at that particular moment. Wendy was able to run through the woods, but he was still hunting her down. So he finally found Wendy, and he was telling her, like, I need you to leave. And she said, I'm not going anywhere. And so then at that point, he was going off on her, right? And so in this particular moment, she was like, I'm gonna tell Ozzy everything. And once I finish telling him everything and make him remember what happened tonight, you guys will be a distant memory, basically, right? And so he grabbed Wendy and suffocated her. And that is how Wendy died. And Kristen got all this on camera, on recording. And she said, Jax, is that good enough for you? And Jax was like, yep, that's good enough. And we see as their dad got arrested for the murder of Wendy. Now, I said it all season. I knew it was somebody in that family. And y'all remember, I first started with Kristen. Then I was like, but you know what? It's something with that mama and with that daddy. I knew it was something with that mama and daddy. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Overall, you guys, this was a really good season. I've enjoyed it. I cannot wait for season 4 to see who actually got shot by Monica. Like I said earlier, I do not believe that it was Jax. I honestly believe if I'm if I'm thinking like Monica, which I don't want to, but if I'm thinking like Monica, Monica feels kind of like Ozzy was a love of her life, and he would still be here if it wasn't for Jax, right? So I honestly feel like she shot Lewis. I think that's where I would go if I was the writers. I wouldn't go with Jax because that's just too easy. I really feel like it's Lewis that she shot. And the reason why I say I feel like it's Lewis is because she feels like she lost Ozzy because of Jax. So Jax should suffer because she lost somebody so close to her, right? So that's it, you guys. Again, great season. Cannot wait for season 4. Cannot wait to see season 4 and Jax on her own in her own law firm. So yeah, you guys, let me know what you guys thought about season 3 of Reasonable Doubt down in the comment section below. You guys subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and share the video, you guys. Until the next time, do me a solid favor, you guys. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.